Hello everyone, it's me Bullet Bill, and I've got a redstone build for you that I absolutely love. It's right here behind me. If I show you how it works, this is basically a combination lock. So I need to have these two items in the correct position, and only then will the door open. So as you can see, I can press this button, but it won't open that iron door. It's only until I place these items in the correct position that the door will open and close like that. If I show you what I mean, if I place this one in a slightly different position, then it will no longer work. But if I open the door and go through it, like I'm going to do now, there's another button here, another input, where I can open and close the door. Now, before I show you the tutorial for this, I thought I'd show you some of the ideas behind the redstone behind this build. So the idea with a combination lock is we have an item frame with an item in it, like this. And the idea is we want one particular redstone output for that. But as you can see, as I turn it, we don't get one output. We get a stronger or a weaker signal. So in other words, I'm powering up to this 6th redstone torch here, but I'm also powering all the others, which is not what we want. So to get around this problem, I have designed a clever little circuit that will still use the same item in an item frame, but this time you would only get one redstone output for a particular position in the item frame, and here's how to do it. You still have your item frame and comparator and your line of redstone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place 2 redstone comparators off to the side. Then, 1 block further out, I'm going to place a redstone repeater and finally connect that up with a block of redstone. So now all I need to test this, let's get a redstone lamp. Now, as you could see, as I turn the item in the item frame, I get an output when the item is in this position, but any other position, and it turns off. So there we have a lit redstone lamp, but now it turns off. And the reason why this works is because obviously the redstone signal needs to be strong enough to reach this comparator. And once it does, the redstone signal will conduct through these comparators and turn on the lamp. But any stronger signal than that, so like it is here, it will also power this repeater, which will boost up the signal strength back up to maximum, and then that will turn off this comparator. It will kind of override it, because if you remember how comparators work, if there's a stronger signal coming in from the side, it will turn off. And here I've just placed another redstone torch, another redstone lamp I should say, just to give you the idea. So you can place these wherever you want, and here you see the redstone signal is strong enough to turn this redstone lamp on, but only in that position, and then we have another one that's slightly further up. Now, this by itself is quite a good redstone build. I'm quite happy with the circuit that I came up with. The only issue though is that we need this big long line of redstone. Especially, let's say I want to have a signal when the item is in this position. That means I need to take a comparator all the way out from over here, which would take up a lot of space. So there's actually a way to make this a little bit more compact. So to show you this, I've got the same little redstone design that I showed you before, but we're going to change this slightly. We're going to weaken the signal coming from this comparator. And one change I've already made is I've right-clicked this comparator and put it in subtract mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some blocks out like that, a redstone comparator like that, and we're going to get an item frame. Item in the item frame again, and this is going to weaken the signal. So let's say I want the redstone lamp to turn on when it's in the 7th position. That is this position over here. I could do that no problem. All I have to do is right click with this item frame to get to one position before it gets to that position. So pointing straight right in this case. And that way I can get that output, but I don't have to create a big long line of redstone for this. This compacts it down really nicely, and this is what we use in this build. Now, before I get started with this tutorial, a very important disclaimer. There's something that will break this contraption if you are not careful. Now what you need to do is this. You need to hit F3 and G, and this will show you the boundaries between chunks. Because if I show you, there's a T flip-flop in this circuit here. And if there's a chunk boundary, in other words, one of these lines that show up after I pressed F3G, near this particular redstone circuit that I've put up here, it can break it, which means it won't work properly. So what I suggest you do to avoid any of that is build this entire thing within a chunk. So as you can see, all of the redstone in this build is contained within this little grid area that has showed up when I've hit F3G. On with the tutorial. So to build one of these, first off you're going to start with a little archway of the building block that you want to use. So I'm going with stone bricks on this one. I'm just going to check it's not infested stone bricks because that drives me insane. And we're going to place 2 item frames like this. I'm going to place a stone brick like this. Now I'm going to get a lever here, because if I place a lever in these item frames, then it looks like a little dial that I can place things on. And I'm also going to place a stone button on this block here. This is going to be our input that opens and closes the door, or whatever we decide to use. If you are enjoying this video, please give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want. It really helps me out a lot. The next thing you're going to have to do is to go around to the other side, and you're going to place a 3x3 square of blocks over here. Now this is red concrete because it's going to have redstone on it, but we're going to replace these 2 blocks and these 2 blocks with top half slabs that I can place things on. Now it doesn't matter which half slabs these are, but they do have to be half slabs. If they are not, then there'll be redstone components that we're going to place underneath here that will interfere with things. After you've done that, back round to the front of your build, you're going to place 2 comparators opposite the item frames like this, and I know I've placed them correctly because they have lit up, they are getting a signal. And then we're going to place 2 redstone dust from each of them. It's also worth remembering at this point that each of these 2 sides are mirrored, so whatever I'm going to do to one side, I'm going to do to the other side. Now we're going to place 2 comparators going out like this, and one for this side as well. And then we're going to place a redstone repeater here, and a piece of redstone dust going back into that comparator like this. So let's do the same for this side, like that. The other thing we need to do is make sure these 2 comparators are in subtract mode. So these little redstone lights in the middle need to be turned on. So next up, we need a way of dampening this signal down from the comparator. Now this is what's going to make it possible for us to choose the combination or the position that this lever needs to be in order to open our door. So to do that, first you're going to have a comparator going in there, then you're going to have a block, then an item frame with an item in it. So this is going to create a signal that's going to weaken this signal coming from this item frame, if that made any sense at all. So again, for this side, a comparator, a block, an item frame, and an item within that item frame. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to choose the combination that we want for our lock. So for this one, I'm going to go with up and up, just to keep things simple. Now, the way this works is, in order for this lock to be set up, the item frame on this side needs to be 1 position before the position that you see on the front. In other words, because this one has the lever pointing up, we want this one to have the lever pointing 1 position before that. So it should be pointing diagonally this way or northwest. So just like that over there. And as you can see, I know I've done it correctly. You see, this lever's pointing up. This lever is 1 to go till it gets to up, because I've got a signal coming from this comparator out here. Notice if I change this, then I don't get a signal. So let's do the same for this side. I have this pointing northwest, Then this is pointing up. Am I getting a signal from this comparator? Yes, I am. So next up, we're going to build some redstone underneath what we have so far. So I'm going to dig this out in just 1 second. So there we go. That should give us a little bit more space. Now the next thing is to take the signal from these comparators from the correct position of our item frames downwards underneath where it will meet up with our AND gate. Now a good little check for this, when I'm building this, I tend to leave the items in the correct position. That way I can kind of check my work a little bit more easy. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So we're going to place a block here that this comparator should be pointing to. Then we're going to place a block, 2 blocks underneath that, then redstone dust, a block here, and a comparator coming out of that. Now, because I have a signal coming out from this repeater, I know I've done it correctly. Let's do the same thing for this side, because remember it's symmetrical. So we have a block here, a block there, redstone dust here, a block here, and a repeater out from that. Now, these are both going to go into blocks, and there's going to be a redstone torch on each of them like that. And you'll notice this is why we have half slabs here instead of full blocks. Now we need to set up our AND gates. So to do that, you need to place a block here with redstone dust on it, and then a redstone torch coming off of that one. Now we have our 2 inputs from our item frames going into this redstone dust, but we also need our input from our button that we placed earlier here. So to do that, I'm going to break these 2 blocks. This block, I'm going to place a red block here so that I know it's got redstone on it. Redstone dust on that block, and a redstone torch on that block here. So now, when each of these item frames are in the correct position, and I press this button, only then will I get an output from this torch. So this is the meat of the redstone of this circuit. You can connect the redstone from this torch to whatever you want, and it will work. So next we are going to connect this signal from this redstone torch to a T flip-flop. So to do that, I'm going to place a block here with redstone dust on it. Then we're going to place a dropper pointing upwards here. Remember, I know it's pointing upwards because I can see the hole pointing upwards. And we're going to place a dropper pointing out like this. Now, I'm going to need a dropper pointing down after this. So if I break a few blocks and place a dropper like that, you can see that dropper is now pointing down. And then we're going to have a hopper. If I shift right click into this dropper, and there we have a functioning T flip-flop. And the only thing left to do, of course, is to place any old item into this dropper here. So this is actually in the on position. So next up, we need to take a signal out from one of these droppers that is going to basically be our input. So that's going to open our iron door or whatever else you want to do with it. So we're going to place a comparator out here. It's powered because the item is in here. So this will be acting as if our combination lock was on and we'd open the door, or whatever it was. And we place a block here, a redstone torch, another block here, and we're basically going to make a little torch tower going up above all this redstone so that we can open a door, just like that. So next up, we need another input going into this T flip-flop, and this is going to be the input for when we get inside. So this is going to allow us to open and close the door once we have actually got inside. So I'm going to create a little path like this using the red blocks so that I know that redstone's on them. We're going to have a repeater, redstone dust, and a redstone torch like this. Now that's going to activate the T flip-flop, which is not a problem at all. So we're going to place redstone dust on that block there, and we're going to go 2 blocks up, another redstone torch on it like this. Notice how it's inverted the signal, and redstone dust on it like that, and 2 more times, 2 blocks up. We have a redstone torch here, and then redstone dust on that block, and then 1 more time, but this time with a building block, 2 blocks up, redstone torch on that block, and this is where our input is going to be. So I'm going to place a stone button on this block right here. So now we need to place our iron door. And the easiest way to work out where to put this is we have a redstone torch at the top of this torch tower here. And I'm going to place a building block next to that. And this is where our iron door is going to go, like this. And now it's just a case of building around it so that I can get up to my doorway, which I will do right now. And there we are. We have our finished combination lock. Now, all I've really done is built a little walkway, a little corridor up to this door here. So let's test it out. So far, the items are just in their normal position. I push the button and it doesn't work, just like how it should. Let's place the items in the correct position. So remember, this one was up and up. If I do that, and then I press the button, just like magic, the door opens, and I can even close it again if I want to. And let's check our other inputs. So this should also operate the door. If I press this, it closes it, and it opens it up, just like that. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of this redstone build. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed and if you found this useful, and I will see you in the next video.